We were a sunburned country, a land of open skies, strong traditions, and big muscles. But in 1983, Eurovision began broadcasting on SBS TV.
Dad, Eurovision time!
EuroWhat?
Hello and welcome to the EuroWhat, episode 283, dropping on November 18th, 2025. We are a pair of Americans trying to make sense of the Eurovision Song Contest. I'm Mike McComb, and I'm here with my co-host, Ben Smith. Hey, Ben.
Hey, Mike.
In this episode, we'll be talking about Australia's history at Eurovision. I was very tempted to open it up with a good day, Ben, but I don't know. That's Aussie Vision's thing. I didn't want to step on their thing.
Yeah,
so,
exactly. Their culture is not our costume.
Exactly. So, but yes, this is going to be a delightful episode, I think. I know that usually my episodes end up involving coups or assassinations, real downer material. There's not much downer material. In fact, I don't think there's any downer material here. We've been covering Eurovision together since the lead up to the 2014 contest. What has been your recollection of Australia being in the contest? Or like, what do you know about Australia's relationship with Eurovision?
That is a fantastic question, because when they were joining the contest, they have become sort of a part of the song and dance I have to do for people when I have to explain what Eurovision is in like 5 minutes or less. I'm just like, hey, it's the European Broadcasting Union, but also there are exceptions, and one of them is Australia, a country that is not in Europe. The general way I explain it is that Australia really likes watching the contest and has done it for years before they were even on the radar, and then in 2014, they essentially got to be like an interval act because of how much they loved Eurovision. And then since then, they have been sort of the vampire of the competition in that they need to be invited to enter the house.
That's a pretty good summary there. We will be talking about that. The way that I've kind of structured my notes on this is talking about some of the Australian artists that have participated in Eurovision prior to Australia being in the contest, because there are a few names in there that are going to be recognizable outside of a Eurovision context. And then talking about why is Australia watching Eurovision when it's completely on the other side of the world? And then talking about Australia's modern history with the contest. Just kind of doing a quick summary because, again, we have been covering it. Click on the Australia tag on this episode and you'll find every single time that we've talked about Australia on this show. So I guess to dive in, can you think of some Australian artists that have been part of Eurovision that weren't necessarily representing Australia?
Let's see. I would like to buzz in and answer who is Olivia Newton-John. Please give me my $200. Ken Jennings.
Yeah. Yes, we've got Olivia Newton-John. We've got Gina G. I wanted to start out with a group called The Seekers. And this automatically gets into one of the kind of interesting aspects of like when countries claim celebrities, I think, because, because I don't know, that like there's this one podcast that I listen to where like a couple of the hosts are from Canada, and pretty much just like if this person was spotted in a Tim Hortons in London, Ontario, they will claim them. So The Seekers, they were a group that formed in Melbourne in 1962, and they were one of the first Australian bands to actually like make it big in the US and the UK. They had a string of hits, their most notable being the song Georgie Girl from the 1966 movie Georgie Girl. It reached number 2 on the Hot 100. It was held back by I'm a Believer by the Monkees, so kind of situating that in time for folks. And it was nominated for Best Original Song. It lost to the song Born Free from the movie Born Free. A lot of original naming happening
like
here.
those were the days for the Best Original Song category, where it was just like the theme from.
Yep. The love theme from Parasite, you know? So the song was a huge hit for The Seekers, that when the album that featured the song Georgie Girl was released in the US, they just changed the album title name to Georgie Girl. The group broke up in 1968, but Keith Potger, who was kind of a behind the scenes guy with the group, sort of like doing some of the songwriting, some of the managing. He would perform with them sometimes, but he had to keep it under wraps because he worked for an Australian broadcaster and was not allowed to have anything that resembled a second job. So He's not on any of the cover art, nothing like that. But he wanted to continue working with a group. So when he was in the UK, he formed a new group called the New Seekers. This was another group kind of continuing the same sort of vibe where it was just kind of like folk singing, a little bit of gospel influence, that sort of thing. And in 1971, they were tapped to record the music for the commercial produced by Coca-Cola called Hilltop. And that is the ad that features the song, I'd Like to Buy the World a Coke.
I like to teach the world to sing. Sing with me. Perfect harmony, perfect harmony. I like to buy the world a Coke and keep it company.
You're nodding your head, so I'm guessing you're familiar with this ad.
Yeah, no, like I've seen Mad Men. I know where this is going.
Yes. So yeah, spoiler if you've not seen Mad Men, but this is like the final moments of the final episode. It really is an iconic ad. We'll have a link to it in the show notes because it is also just kind of very Eurovision-y in like the love, peace sort of way.
It's not of Eurovision, but like it certainly is like Eurovision adjacent.
Absolutely. So the original radio jingle for it was recorded by the New Seekers, and the song was incredibly popular. Like radio stations were just getting flooded with phone calls for people being like, hey, can you play this song? So the songwriters wrote a full version of the song, took out all the Coca-Cola references, and changed it to I'd Like to Teach the World to Sing. There was a real tight turnaround to like make sure that they could cash in on this phenomenon, and the New Seekers weren't available to immediately record this version. So they got a group of studio singers called the Hillside Singers that recorded a version of the song. It reached number 13 on the Hot 100. New Seekers were eventually able to get into the studio and record a proper version of the song. And it was an even bigger hit than the Hillside Singers version. It sold 500,000 in the US, was certified gold, sold almost 1 million in the UK. It was number 1 in the UK and reached number 7 on the Hot 100. So yeah, it was a big deal ad, big deal song for this group. In 1972, they were tapped to represent the UK at Eurovision. They won the national selection with the song Beg, Steal or Borrow.
Beg, steal or borrow, yes I will, to make your garden grow. And most of all, you know, I'll bring you love.
When I was looking up the video for this, right before the video started playing, U2 played a Coke ad. So it's like, I see what you're doing here. So the contest was held in Edinburgh that year because the UK was hosting on behalf of Monaco. The group was kind of based in Scotland. Like they were kind of bouncing to a bunch of different places in the UK, but like Scotland was kind of their base of operations. So very strong hometown support in the, I was going to say in the arena. It was not an arena at that time. It was in the concert hall, but they ended up finishing second place behind Vicky Leandro's Après Toi from Luxembourg. Beg, Steal or Borrow was also a hit in many countries. It reached number 1 in Norway, number 2 in the UK, and it also charted in the US. It got up to number 81. So yeah, the New Seekers were doing great. The group took a break in 1974, and then the Seekers reformed in 1975, trying to thread together the timelines for the two groups, because there was also overlap between the groups. I don't know what name they were using at what time. It was that level of confusion. It's like, okay, well, we're going to be the Seekers. Well, now we'll be the New Seekers. And I don't think there was any sort of like lawsuits about like, oh, you can't use that name anymore because like there were too many people from the group in both groups. So.
Yeah, because like this is all reminding me of like the situation now where you have these various Motown groups where two members of the group are not speaking to the other two, but they're all touring under legally distinct versions of the name.
Right, exactly. I don't think there is that kind of acrimony, I guess you might say. But yeah, they just kind of keep reforming in different configurations. So yeah, but the Seekers originated in Australia. So I presume Australia claims them.
There we go.
Olivia Newton-John, as you mentioned, she was born in the UK, but her family moved to Australia when she was 5. So again, They claim her. Before Eurovision, Olivia was doing some acting, nightclub singing, that sort of thing. She released her first album in 1971 called If Not For You. And the title track was written by Bob Dylan. So, pretty good start to anyone's music career. And that reached number 25 on the US charts. Her follow-up efforts didn't really have strong sales, but she did win the Grammy for Best Country Female. So she was definitely an artist on the rise by the time that she was part of the Eurovision conversation. In 1974, Olivia Newton-John was internally selected by the BBC to be their representative. There was a national selection with 6 songs, including the song Angel Eyes, which was her favorite of the options. It ended up finishing second in the national final. She competed at Eurovision with the song Long Live Love. And she finished in 4th place, but kind of overshadowed by the act that ended up winning that year. There was some group, I think their name was ABBA.
Okay.
Yeah. Long Live Love was released as an album in the UK, and it featured the other songs from the national selection, plus a few more tracks. When it was released in the US, it was retitled If You Love Me, Let Me Know. And all of the Eurovision associated tracks were replaced with more like country infused tracks from her previous albums. It's just like, we're not even going to try to broach the Eurovision conversation in the US. The album went to number 1 on the pop chart, and the track I Honestly Love You, which was on it, became her first number 1 single. It became her signature song. She has reached exit velocity. She's breaking through and, became the Olivia Newton-John that we all know and love and miss. So
Just a little bit, a little bit more. Just a little bit, I give you love you can't ignore.
Another artist that has Australia association is Gina G. She's originally from Brisbane. So, yes, they claim her. And she was a DJ and singer in Melbourne in the early 90s and moved to the UK in 1995. For the 1996 Eurovision Song Contest, the UK held the Great British Song Contest 1996. What was interesting about this one was they had a semifinal, which was kind of an adapted episode of Top of the Pops, where there were 8 songs that performed and viewers called in to vote for their favorites. But this was the first time since 1960 that there was a semifinal before the actual national final. So that's kind of surprising because a lot of times they would internally select their artists, they would perform a bunch of songs, and the public would vote on those songs, or they would just have like the one night national final. Advancing to the final were 4 songs, and Ooh Ah Just a Little Bit, Gina G's entry, got 57% of the televote. Like, it was far and away the winner. And there were almost 200,000 votes cast. So, like, this was, like, strong seal of approval for Gina G. 1996 was the year that there was a pre-selection of all of the contestants. So, like, the only act guaranteed to be in the Eurovision final was the host country, which was Norway that year. Gina G, her song, finished in 3rd in that pre-selection process. So great job there. At the contest, the song finished in 8th place overall and had a really strong afterlife. It reached number 1 in the UK and top 10 in several countries. It was released in the US in November of 1996. So quite a few months after the actual contest, and it peaked at number 12 on the Hot 100. I remember that was a song that would play a lot on Detroit radio growing up. And it's like, oh, I really like this. And who knew that woke up something in teenage Mike? But
well, and like, I think if I'm remembering correctly, as we have tracked this since it came back, it is like one of the last Eurovision related songs to chart in the US for quite some time.
Absolutely. That was the next bullet point that I had. It's the fourth highest ranking Eurovision track on the Hot 100 and the last one to chart until Arcade charted in 2021. And yeah, it took that long for Arcade, the winner of the 2019 contest, to chart in the US. Ooh Ah Just a Little Bit was also nominated for a Grammy for Best Dance Recording. And I love this. Because of the way the Grammy eligibility period works, it was a song that came out in 1996, but it was nominated for the 1997 Grammy Awards, which were presented in February of 1998. So-
Yes, because like the Grammy Award nominations for this year just dropped, and the people who pay attention largely to the large awards in my office were just like, why didn't Taylor Swift get any? And my music nerd ass got to be, well, technically the album wasn't released until after the eligibility period for this year. Anyways, I'm fun.
I ended up looking into the Grammys presented in 1998. Like, that's the other thing that makes it confusing. It's just like, I don't know what year to use to describe these Grammys. But
yes.
For the Grammys that were presented in February 1998, for which Gina G was nominated.
For which the period of eligibility ended probably like September 1997.
She did not win the award. It went to Carry On by Donna Summer and Giorgio Moroder. So probably in your Italo disco collection somewhere. Mm-hmm. Also nominated that year, Daft Punk, Pet Shop Boys, and Space Jam by the Quad City DJs.
Yes. That's like just such a very specific 1997 moment.
That's just where it begins, Ben.
Continue.
This was what I call the soy bomb Grammys. Yep. This is the 40th Grammy Award. So year that ends in zero. Pew, pew, pew.
Pew, pew, pew.
Everything on the Wikipedia page for this award ceremony was making me scream, what? It's just like everything about it. Like, I'm going to pull it up right now and just read just some of the okay, so performers: Will Smith, Men in Black, Getting Jiggy with It; R. Kelly, I Believe I Can Fly, Yikes, Yikes, Yikes; Fleetwood Mac, Rhiannon, Go Your Own Way, Don't Stop; Celine Dion, My Heart Will Go On; Lilith Fair Tribute; Hanson, Mbop. Like, it's just like one thing after another. But the one that like truly made me scream and had me laughing for like 5 minutes: Aretha Franklin and the cast of Blues Brothers 2000. Respect / Nessun Dorma.
Oh man, like I was thinking, is that the year that like Pavarotti couldn't go on or was sick? So like Aretha Franklin at the last minute was like, yeah, I can do Nessun Dorma, and then just bodies it.
Let's see. The presenters. Oh, there was one that was, Boys to Men and Tara Lipinski. Usher, Sheryl Crow, and John Fogerty presenting Album of the Year. Like, it's just this random grab bag of every like pop culture thing that's just kind of free radicaling through my head at any given moment. If we can find a full version of this telecast, we have to do that for the Patreon.
Yes.
It is such a bizarre time capsule. And the whole thing hosted by Kelsey Grammer.
Yeah, okay, sure. Almost 30 years later, just like hats off for the people who planned that Grammys on just sort of bottling the essence of 1997.
Oh my goodness. Yeah, like this is a glorious, glorious time capsule. And also just a really good year of music. It's like, oh yeah, I have a lot of these albums. So again, Teenage Mike, very excited. So I hope Gina G was in attendance because that sounds like that was an amazing night to be in the room. So that's just a few of the Australian artists. I'm sure that there are several other artists that Australia claims, but these were like some of the highlights that I wanted to make sure that we touched on. Even though there are these Australian artists performing at Eurovision, Australia's relationship with Eurovision does go farther back. And like kind of wondering, like, how does Australia start watching Eurovision? Like, why is Australia connected to Eurovision in this way? So the Australian Broadcasting Corporation, Australian ABC, has been an associate member of the EBU since 1950, when the EBU was established. Associate members are national media organizations that are outside the boundaries of the EBU, but still want to participate in the resource and content sharing opportunities that are provided to EBU members. In the US, the big three networks, ABC, CBS, NBC, American Public Media, they're all associate members. So if you're watching the news and you're seeing some news footage and it's attributed to like the BBC, that exchange was likely facilitated by this membership agreement with the EBU. Another thing that they facilitate is sports rights management.
It makes a lot of sense that that nations outside of Europe would be some level of junior member, just because, again, especially in the early days of TV, hey, look, it's content. We need that.
Exactly. Yes. And Australia's relationship with the United Kingdom at that point in time, I mean, it's a very close relationship. They're doing a lot of stuff with the BBC anyway. So it's like, oh, yeah, if we can just kind of make that smoother for everybody, let's do that. The only thing with associate membership is you don't have the same voting privileges or participation privileges available. So associate members aren't normally eligible to participate in the Eurovision Song Contest, the Eurovision Dance Contest, young musicians, like all of that stuff. And they also don't have voting rights. So if there is a membership vote, which may be relevant this year, Australia would not get to vote in that decision. They would just have to abide by whatever was decided. It's also important to kind of consider who is living in Australia. According to the 2021 census, 27.6% of the Australian population is from overseas. And a lot of that is going to be like nearer neighbors. So like South and Southeast Asia, Indonesia, Philippines, New Zealand. But there's also a lot of European minority communities within Australia. And Eurovision is an opportunity to cater to those audiences. In the mid-1970s, the Special Broadcasting Service was established as a radio network to serve minority communities with non-English language content. That service expanded to television, the SBS, in 1980. And I found a schedule of what the first weekend of broadcasts included on SBS. And some of the items were a movie from Yugoslavia, cartoons from Italy, Hungary, and Russia, a French film about a Russian girl who smothers her boyfriend. We've all been there. A Swedish children's program, a Chinese acrobatics special. It's kind of PBS-ish in a way, but SBS also included sports coverage, especially for like European matches.
Aha, there we go.
So SBS is serving these minority communities, and by minority just meaning like non-Australian, like looking at the census page, they have very specific definitions about first generation, second generation, third generation Australian. It's just like, okay, like if your parents were born in Australia, then you fall into this category. But if like one parent was and one parent isn't, and then your grandparents, and then like third cousins twice removed, like all of that, which is really helpful, but it does like kind of reinforce this kind of melting pot discussion of like who's in Australia and who's watching TV. In 1983, the SBS acquires the rights to broadcast Eurovision. Now, airing Eurovision live really isn't a requirement. I'm like just thinking of the time zone aspect of it. Like when Eurovision starts at 9 p.m. Central European time, that's 4 a.m. in Perth. That's 7 a.m. in Sydney. Like nobody's getting up on a Sunday morning to, well, actually, no, we do know people who would get up.
I was about to say, we know people, like, we know that there are people who are.
Yes, but like for a network that has ratings and that sort of thing, it's like, okay, that's maybe not the best day part to have this sort of programming on. Televoting wasn't a thing at this point. It's a one-night show. Australia's not actively participating in it. You can air it on delay. Spoiler warning was not a term at that point.
Yeah.
So they would do delayed broadcasts. and usually have it be like a Friday night thing, a Saturday night thing, and really kind of turning it into an event, even though the event had already happened. When the contest was expanding in the 2000s to include semifinals and having it be like more than one program, SBS would adapt the programming to still make it like a weekend event type thing, where it's like, all right, semifinal 1, that'll be like Thursday night, semifinal 2, Friday night, the delayed grand final on Saturday night. They're still doing this even with like live broadcasting today. Like they will still show the show live at 4 a.m. in Perth, but still do the delayed broadcast so that like normies can watch it.
Yes, at a time that you are meant to be watching television.
Eventually, Australia sends their own commentators. Originally, they were just using whatever the UK commentator feed was, so a little bit of Terry Wogan. Starting in 2010, SBS was hosting its own like kind of in-house televote for the competition, just to be like, okay, we know we don't have any influence on the results, but we can still play along at home, devoting those sort of resources, showing how committed they are to the Eurovision process, idea. Like, they really are super fans. And now we're getting into the Australia at Eurovision aspect of it. Jessica Mauboy is invited to perform as an interval act for the second semifinal of the 2014 contest. And I don't know if you've seen this video recently of like the intro package. It's real weird. I'm going to send you the link to it.
Because like it's been a minute. I am going to click the video in 3, 2, 1.
Hello, Eurovision Song Contest headquarters?
Hello, Australia calling. Can we sing at the Eurovision Song Contest?
No, you can't. You're not a part of Europe.
Millions of us watch it every year.
It's our dream to sing at Eurovision.
If you can manage to move Australia to Europe, of course you can be a part of the Eurovision Song Contest.
Good luck with that.
Assuming that one could lift a landmass and move it by a helicopter that way, the toll of life.
Yeah. Yeah, it was very Final Fantasy Act 3 situation. But yeah, the thing that like just kind of jumped out to me is just like, wow, this is a lot of negging that is happening.
No, like it was like I had not thought about this for like a solid decade, and just rewatching like, wow, this feels shades of Sweden's We Just Love Eurovision So Much, you guys. It's like, hello, here's a parade of cultural stereotypes.
Yeah. But, and I don't know, just the idea is like Australia is begging us. It's just, I don't know. It's very weird in retrospect.
Yeah, it's like I don't love that relationship between Jan Ole Sand and the fine people of Australia.
Yeah, or Jan Ole Sand and the teleprompter. Anyway, Jessica Mauboy performs. The performance ends with an astronaut coming down with a flag that has the Australian flag on one side and the Aboriginal flag on the other side. So it's like, okay, that's cool. The song is called Sea of Flags. It's very model UN, but it's setting the stage in a way for like, like they're chatting with Australia at least, even if they may not be giving them the time of day. On February 10th of 2015, it's announced that Australia has been invited to Vienna. And it's interesting thinking of where Eurovision is today and where they were back in 2015. Some of the same sort of issues cropping up in terms of participation. Like in 2012, there were 42 countries that were participating. Some frustration with how the contest is running, also just like financial difficulties. There was a lot of financial troubles for a lot of countries in 2013, and there were only 39 countries that were participating that year. 2013, kind of a messy contest. That was the one where we don't have any actual jury data because of randomness and pinata full of SIM cards, allegedly. 2014, only 37 countries competing. There were also like persisting financial troubles for a number of countries. So, I can see why the EBU would be kind of nervous about their participation numbers, the way that they may be kind of nervous about their participation numbers in this coming year, given that we've had 2 years in a row with only 37 countries competing and a number threatening to walk. The announcement is kind of hilarious in retrospect. It really is kind of keeping that negging aura about things where they have the announcement, a couple of quotes from people, and then a Q&A section where they're kind of just getting into the mechanics of how it's going to work. Australia is going to get to vote in both of the semifinals, but they have an automatic entry into the grand final. So the grand final is going to have 27 countries, regardless of how things shake out. What happens if Australia wins? Would the contest take place down under? And they're like making it clear. It's like, no, like if they win, it'll be hosted somewhere in Europe. But then they keep on emphasizing that this is a one-off thing. One time. Australia will compete one time. If they win, they can maybe come back, but they're only going to do this one time. One off, I think, is used 5 or 6 times on this single page of only 500 words. But one of the things that they do point out in the announcement is, quote, Australia has a long tradition of broadcasting the Eurovision Song Contest and a loyal fan base watching the event every year. Broadcaster SBS from Australia is also an associate member of the EBU. So just kind of like laying the groundwork. They have some bona fides. Like at this point in our timeline, it's been over 40 years that they've been broadcasting the contest. So 2015, automatically in grand final, 27 countries. They're voting in both semifinals. They are represented by Guy Sebastian.
This is one tough act to follow. Oh, baby, tonight's so good. Forget tomorrow. We can do tonight again. We can do tonight again.
He won the first season of Australian Idol way back in 2003. He represented Australia in World Idol. Another thing that we need to add to the Patreon queue at some point. I think it was like Fox trying to prevent any sort of Eurovision thing from taking hold in the United States. And Guy finished in 7th place there. He did reach number 71 on the Hot 100 with the song Battle Scars in 2012. This was a collaboration he did with Lupe Fiasco. And he was a judge and coach on X Factor before Eurovision. And after Eurovision, he was a coach on The Voice. So he knows how the talent show piece of it works. He's a wildly successful artist in Australia. This was a very good choice for a debut entry.
Like, if we are only getting to do this once, we are sending the cream of the crop. We are sending someone who will do us proud.
Yes, and he did his job. Like, he finished 5th overall. He got 12s from Sweden and Austria. This was a worthwhile experiment for everybody. Tonight Again is a very solid entry. Even though it was supposed to be a one-off thing. One.
We are doing this one time, everyone.
Before the 2016 contest, the reference group unanimously voted to invite Australia back to the contest. I have to think it's just like, Australia showed up, they did the work, and probably had a really good time. Dami Eam was internally selected by SBS with the song Sound of Silence.
I keep calling.
Which ended up winning the second semifinal. Australia did have to actually qualify this time around. And the song would go on to win the jury and finish 2nd overall in the 2016 contest. So not bad for a new country joining the contest.
Yeah, no, like I have to think that like people behind the scenes are like, okay, we may need to deploy the binder for if Australia wins.
And I mean, I think that is one of the things that I think is great about Australia participating in the contest is it has forced the EBU to think of these contingencies.
To have contingency plans. What a concept.
Yeah. And even though Australia has not won yet, I think the planning on the eventuality that Australia could win really laid the groundwork for why 2023 was so successful, because it probably was that exact same game plan where it's like, okay, host country can't host for reasons that are out of their control. How can we make this a co-production? And it's just like proof of concept there. So thanks, Australia, for introducing that and being indirectly involved with creating a fantastic contest in 2023. In 2017, they were invited again. This was also the year that they tried to launch Eurovision Asia, or at least made the announcement that Eurovision Asia is coming. Still TBD on that.
It's on its way.
Part of the planning may have been that Australia would serve as host for the inaugural edition of it. But again, those plans haven't really come to pass. Isaiah Firebrace represented them in 2017, finished in 9th place, starting a kind of mini trend for Australia with 9th place finishes. In 2018, they were invited again. So like really not beating the vampire allegation.
Nope.
And this time, Jessica Mauboy was sent as the actual contestant, and she ended up finishing in 20th place, the lowest that Australia had finished at this point. But again, demonstrating the variety and the diversity that Australia is bringing to the contest, because like they have sent 4 entries. I would argue none of them are really super similar to one another. Like they've sent ballad, they've sent up-tempo stuff, they've sent like love peace type stuff. It's like really showing the diversity of their music industry, and these are all 4 contestants that are people of color, which is another thing that Eurovision needs help with. In 2019, they announced in February that Australia has signed a contract to secure a place through 2023. So they don't need to be invited every single year. This is also the first time that Australia introduces a national final to select their act. Australia Decides. The winner of that is Kate Miller-Heidke with Zero Gravity. And she is the second Australian to earn a 9th place finish at Eurovision. And she wins the Artistic Award as well for her 20-foot pole flying around the stage performance, which is still a marvel to watch. And yeah, just the breath control alone. Oh my goodness. They continue with Australia Decides in 2020, and that is where Montaigne is selected with the song Don't Break Me. And we all know what happened with the 2020 contest. Montaigne gets internally selected and presents the song Technicolor. And this is another kind of proof of concept experiment that happens. Like we are still coming out of peak COVID, and one of the contingency plans that they came up with is the live to tape video performance, where if an act is not able to perform either at the semifinal or the final, they use a live to tape performance as a backup. And Australia was not letting people in or out of the country during this time, and Montaigne was not given an exemption to go to Eurovision. So they had to use the live to tape performance in the semifinal. And unfortunately, this is Australia's first non-qualification. But I think it was helpful in showing that the live to tape performances, it was a good idea, or at least something to try. But
yeah, like it was kind of an obviously inferior situation for anybody where that needed to be deployed.
And I don't think the production really did any favors. Like, it was very obvious that this was something that was just completely remote from everything else that was happening on stage. I mean, Iceland also had to use a live tape performance, but that was based on a rehearsal performance.
Exactly. It's like it's still very apples and oranges.
Even though the proof of concept didn't work in Australia's favor, it's like, okay, well, they came up with this contingency plan. They tested this contingency plan. It didn't work, but at least they tried it out. At least they had a plan to try out. It wasn't just a case of just like, oh, Australia's not showing up. All right, you don't qualify. We're going to relook at your invitation. It's like, all right, we're trying to bridge the huge gap here. Australia does come back in 2022 and are able to perform in Torino with Sheldon Riley. They finish in 15th place. And this is the last time that they've used Australia Decides. And part of that is because they've kind of developed a bench of other contestants in the Australia Decides process. In 2023, Voyager, who competed in previous Australia Decides, are internally selected with their song Promise. And yet another 9th place finish for Australia. In 2024, Australia is invited back to the contest. They selected Electric Fields, who were the runners-up in 2019. Unfortunately, they do not qualify. They have started a new trend where Australia gets 11th place in the semifinal and just missed the cut. And then 2025, Gojo, another 11th place in the semifinals. But again, these are like 10 different artists that are all different from each other, and
they're all very different.
Yeah, and all bringing something completely different each time, but also bringing, for the most part, people of color, people of different abilities as well.
Yeah, like I was going to be kind of very glib at the start of this episode and just, haha, Australia, a land of contrast. But you know what? Yeah. Yes.
Yeah, like Land of Contrast, bringing that contrast to Eurovision. It's so awesome that they are part of this thing and taking it so seriously and like really doing the work in being a participant in this contest. And it's really interesting now because there was a budget that was released in Canada this past week as we record that indicated that they are very serious about wanting to participate in Eurovision. Again, it's like a vampire situation where they need to be invited in. The CBC is also an associate member of the EBU, so they don't have the same access rights, but I don't get the sense that they have the same sort of foundation to the relationship that Australia had. Like, I mean, Australia was broadcasting the contest for 20 years before discussions of their participation really started to take hold. And there's just not this familiarity with it. But at the same time, Australia is the last new country to join the contest. So it would be interesting if Canada is offered like this one-off participation for the 70th edition, much like Australia was offered one for the 60th edition.
I feel like as we near the 70th contest, we are starting to see the EBU kind of like what kinds of stops they're trying to pull out of just like, hello, look, Bulgaria is back, Romania is back. It's a number that ends in a 0. We are pulling out all the stops. We are doing all of these things. Look, it's Canada. Let's do a fun little number before their song where we bring out just sort of the maple leaf dancers and just sort of like beavers doing a kick line in a pool of maple syrup or whatever.
The Riga Beaver would be so upset if they did not get to be part of that kick line. But I guess this is the Australia appreciation post.
Yeah, we are glad that you guys are here.
Yes. And hopefully they keep getting invited back. The evidence seems to suggest that the relationship between Australia, Eurovision, EBU seems to be going great. And hopefully that will continue for a long time because they've been a wonderful addition to the contest.
Agreed.
So that's going to do it for this episode of the EuroWhat. Thanks for listening. The EuroWhat podcast is hosted by Mike McComb, that's me, and Ben Smith.
That's me. You can find our full archive of episodes on our website at EuroWhat.com. If you'd like even more episodes and a free newsletter, join our Patreon. You can get to the Patreon through our website or by going to patreon.com/EuroWhat.
Next time on the EuroWhat, joke entries, for real this time, with our special guest, Chris Malamphy from Slate's Hit Parade.